Welcome to part two of our caveman experience. We are interviewing a spokesperson, a team, a women and a male, I think Neanderthal. We found out so much in part one. So you guys need to go back and check it out. Denise Ramon's information, hello Denise, is in the description box and we will put her on the splash screen too. Again, Eric, welcome back and I still love you.
He says, and I still love you, Mama.
All right, Mr. Neanderthal or Miss Neanderthal, thank you for coming back. Did you segregate from other Neanderthals based on geographical location?
He says yes, and because he can feel what you're meaning behind that, and he said yes that we did. Yes, there was that segregation
Why?
going on. He said because we didn't. It's like the community, the compound, or whatever you want to call it, the village or whatever. It's like it's almost like they spoke the same language in a sense. They knew what was going on. And the other villages had their own type of thing going on. But I don't feel like it was any type of like how we have segregation,
Okay.
anti this or that, but it's just he says, we weren't used to seeing a lot of other different people around because it was so small. The population wasn't very large.
It's probably scary.
Familiar. He said when it's like almost shocking. He says sometimes it would have been, when you see all you've known is what's around you, and then as you're traveling, moving, and then you come around where there were other people like you around because they would see things, it is kind of shocking it because you think you're the only one. Except they knew that it's almost like they had a knowing that they weren't the ones only, but yet they didn't know there were others in the same territory, so to speak. And that was kind of like a startling to see that sometimes.
Did you eventually trade or bartered with other groups or clans or tribes of Neanderthals?
Oh, definitely. He said
war? Yes. Did y'all engage in battles and wars?
I don't get that they did. The way he's showing, of course they might have had disagreements and stuff like that, because that's Erik is saying that's the humanness, the part in that. And it's almost like they were in a new environment, stretching their wings to see what all could be done. And, they, I do feel like there was, some challenges in that from them, but nothing like we have now. It wasn't to that degree. Did they, were tempers flying and stuff like that? And he says, depending on the circumstances, like if there's, like not able to find food, they witnessed
frustration.
Someone, they witnessed a death, or just when I say witness a death, like something happened really young, unexpectedly, stuff, he said, of course we had some human emotions, but I just don't feel like it went off the charts. I just don't feel that.
All right. So you had things, did you have, what kind of emotions? Jealousy, anger, of course, frustration, grief, love. Are those some of the emotions you experienced?
Well, they did have love, because he says, because he says that's where we come from, is a place of love. So we did have that. It's everything he says was like an adventure, because everything was new that they were doing, because it's like they didn't have ancestors that they followed and stuff. But at the same time, I feel like they got information from somewhere. And when I say somewhere, I feel like the ETs or something fed them information somehow. He says telepathically they sent them information. But, of course, they did have, he said we get angry and pissed off when we hurt ourselves and stuff like that, that happened, or,
He
just,
suffered from depression, suicide.
he was mentioning earlier, he was telling me that they didn't have mental illness like we do today.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They just didn't have that. Did they have people getting frustrated? I feel like they had, of course, there was that competition with the males, being I'm stronger and tougher. I just don't feel like they were real
They weren't, their
tall,
emotions
real
didn't take
tall.
them over.
Yeah, and I don't feel like they were real tall, but I feel like they were real.
Stocky.
Plus, yes, and
Okay.
but I feel like they had, some of your being a man. It's like being that male, that testosterone kind
Yeah,
of came into play sometimes.
makes sense. Okay, we already talked about women surviving childbirth. That very often they didn't, obviously, because the conditions,
Mm.
etc. How were kids raised? Did the father and mother raise them, or did the village raise?
No, the village raised them.
Wow. Why did the Neanderthals disappear from Earth? Eric, you kind of answered that, right? Their spiritual mission was over, or what would you say?
He said yes, and then they evolved.
They evolved into
Yeah,
Cro-Magnon or the next species, right?
right.
Um, and did any Neanderthal have any contact with ETs? That's true. Did they
Mhm.
communicate with ETs, or did ETs guide them then? We already talked about that, but is there anything else you want to add for that?
Eric is telling me, the Neanderthals knew. It's like a knowing they had, like they knew they had outside help. When I say outside help, like they
Guidance.
had, yeah, ET type stuff. They knew that. And I just feel like they knew how to get there. They knew how to get to that place, whether it be in solitude, or they had some rituals that they did, whatever. They knew how to get into that communication.
Oh,
Um,
the zone
and
where
and
where they were going to be able to communicate with aliens.
yeah, to for guidance, because I just don't feel like they were dumped here and it's like, okay, you're on your own, figure it out. I just
Yeah,
don't get that. Just like we weren't dumped here and said
yeah,
figure out on our own,
right,
because we have that direct connection if we tune into that.
right.
And I just get like theirs might have been a little bit crisper on how they were communicating, because it
Yeah.
was so long ago. It was so young, is what Eric says, so young. And that was, Eric is telling me, that was part of the evolution of, I guess you would say, to get this planet going again with the human species,
Yeah.
getting it going in that,
Okay.
because there's a ton of intelligence in every
Yeah.
person.
Yeah. All right. Did God or other celestial beings speak with you, or you to them with them? Sounds
He
like you're
says,
polytheistic. But
he said, yes, that God did communicate, but it wasn't the God that we know. It was more of the universal energy is what
okay.
communicated.
Mhm.
And they knew how to tap into that.
Mhm.
That wasn't washed away from their memory.
Well, did you have gods that explain things like a total eclipse or a volcano eruption or anything like that? And if so, did you make sacrifices to such gods?
He said they intuitively knew
Oh,
what, like, the eclipses were about, and this is like
wow.
when I said, like, they knew they knew that the stars and the sun and the moons, he said the moons, plural, he knew how we're all connected to all of that.
And
And
they
so
got that from ETs? That information?
I get, yes, but I also get, like, they got it from the universal source, as he says, the universal source, because they all came from that universal source. He says we all come from this, he's calling it the universal source.
Did you ever get visits from aliens or their spacecrafts?
He tells me yes, they did, but I don't feel like the spacecraft landed and said, hey, what's up. I feel like they did traveling in their sleep, and that's
Oh,
how they
like astral
communicate.
travel.
Yeah, astral travel. And I also get, it's like dream visits, that I call it. That's how things were
Cool.
done. Yeah.
Not like the ancient Egyptians who seem to have actually gotten visits from Anunnaki and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, he said, it's like the spacecraft didn't come in and say, hey, what's going on? I just don't get that. And the way he's showing me, I just don't think that that would have been an appropriate visit for that time.
Yeah. All right. How did you guys survive? Not all of you did, the Ice Age. I'm sure part of it is moving away as south as possible, but what else?
Yes, and he says, we it was always about, you know, you don't stock up on stuff for 6 months at a time, but you
Yeah.
did gather things together, when you saw something that would be of use at another time, you kept it. You didn't just let it go, I don't need it now, forget it.
Yeah.
Um, I do feel like there was preparation for it. And not everybody survived. I mean, not a lot of people
No.
survived, but I do get that they traveled a lot. And this is where he says we could, it's like they could feel things shifting with their feet from the earth.
They're very
And
intuitive. Yeah.
yeah, and they were connected to the stars and the sun,
Yeah.
they just knew. And he says also too, animal life responds to that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Plant life responds to
Hmm.
that kind of stuff. He said, if we would tune in to what's going on with our planet right now, we would do things very differently, because our animal life and our plant life is telling us what direction we're going in, but we're asleep when it comes to that.
At the wheel. So it sounds like you guys were able to telepathically communicate with animals and plants.
Yes, because
Wow.
it's about, he says it's about, as we call it, our frequency. And what you do
Oh,
is it's about tuning into the energies, he
so
says.
therefore
And
getting the a vibrational match with.
yeah.
Speaking of animals, what was the most common animal that provided fur for those cold winter nights?
The first thing he showed me was rabbits, and I'm like, well, those are small. But he
Yeah.
shows me rabbits. But I also get there was some kind of um, ox or something like that,
Okay.
some kind of something like that. It looks pretty historic. And also some form of a wild cat is what he's showing me.
Weird. Okay.
Yeah. And
Interesting.
he's
What
also
about
showing me
mastodons, or what do you call them?
mastodons.
Mastodons.
What are those?
Woolly mammoth.
Oh,
Something like that.
yeah, but those, are kind of a challenge to
Oh,
to
okay.
to
You
get.
didn't have that great weapons, yeah. AK-47 coming up your way, Mastodon. Did you ever communicate with Bigfoot?
Um, he says that Bigfoot didn't come around very much. I don't get like Bigfoot interacted really with them. I just don't
Okay.
feel that from him. But doesn't say no, they didn't.
Well, did you
Because
guys know of Bigfoot or the Yeti's existence
um,
or not?
he said some of them did, but it was because the Yetis are of a different frequency than them.
Oh, they're interdimensional beings.
Yeah, I just get like they're just, and I get that they were more evolved than the Neanderthals is
Yeah,
what I get.
probably more
Not
than
that
us
they're
too.
better, not that they're better than. I just get more evolved. You
Okay.
know.
What part of Earth did you live at predominantly? Africa, Europe, kind of that Northern Africa, Europe. I'm guessing. We'll look that up.
Yeah. He's showing me Africa,
Yeah.
around in there. I get something like, mm, he's saying around Asia, somewhere around
Oh
there.
yeah. Shows that here. Yeah. Wow.
And yeah, and I get, he
Yeah.
also
There we
says
go.
there's some in Europe too.
Yeah, that's right. Spain.
Yeah.
Um. Okay. How many different, how many species of early humans do you think there were?
How many different species of humans?
Yeah.
Ooh, he's showing me quite a bit. I don't know.
Well, Eric, maybe
He's
you know.
he's
Well,
showing me. Well, there's Eric says. Well, he showed me 50, but I
oh,
don't know if that's 50 different ones or there are
oh,
different breeds. He said different
okay.
breeds. Yeah.
All right. Who came
How-
first, humans or Neanderthals? I guess this person's saying if the Anunnaki, the geneticist Sophia took human DNA and mixed it with alien DNA to create Neanderthals, or whatever. So who came first, or was it simultaneous?
Well, who came first to Earth,
Yeah, I
or
guess, or in existence at all, I guess.
Eric is saying humans were first, is
That
what
makes sense.
Eric is showing. Eric says humans were first.
But are you talking about human humans or human alien hybrids or?
Well, Eric is showing me there were humans long, even before the Neanderthals. Way
Yeah.
in,
Mhm.
so it's like we're on this rotation,
Yeah. It's really
and
interesting that
it
aligns
is.
with what I learn on with these Gaia programs that, you know, humans came from aliens. Then, yeah. Oh, I like this one. Did Neanderthals have dinosaurs as pets? I don't think they were there at the same time, but did they have
Um,
dinosaurs for pets?
no, no, he said the dinosaurs would have.
Not the Flintstones, huh?
No, he said the dinosaurs were not pet friendly. He says,
Ah,
and they were much larger than them. He says.
yeah. Hey, did y'all ever
So,
cross paths with other species like Cro-Magnon?
I do. What he's showing me, they did cross paths with other species. They did cross paths.
Okay.
Um, yeah, he said they
Or
did.
the Cro-Magnon say, "Hey, dude, I'm smarter than you, and taller, and more handsome." I'm kidding.
um,
Caveman bullying. Mm. So
you
that's
know,
fine. I get it.
it's the way he shows me when they had visits and, they were visited by others, it's almost like they were, I don't want to say paralyzed, but they were like kind of slowed down in their emotions, their thoughts or whatever,
Okay.
for so that there wasn't any, because he says that, I just don't feel like that's something that, oh yeah, it's no big deal thing.
Yeah.
I don't feel like it was like that, but I feel like it was almost like, it's like they were given a pill, so there wasn't a big reaction, because not that an actual pill, but
Yeah,
something
no.
like that. And I did, and I feel like it was done energetically. How that was
Oh,
done,
from
um,
ETs or from the Cro-Magnum?
yeah, from ETs and stuff like
Wow.
that. And I feel like they did that, um, to like, educate them on some things.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, because I don't feel like they were allowed to interfere with them. Like we're not allowed to be interfered with. Like
They
with our
mate
free
with
will
other,
and stuff.
do they mate with Cro-Magnums and or vice versa?
I don't feel like they did.
Okay. Now, did souls eventually find the Neanderthal body couldn't provide the right experience for the soul and so switch to our current, more closer to Homo sapien bodies? I know that Neanderthals, they had a lot of muscle mass, and that's really hard to keep up with the energetic needs and survive,
Right.
especially with the ice age. But so why did souls figure out, forget the Neanderthal body? We're gonna move on to the 2.0.
He said basically that's kind of it. Eric is saying, yeah, because as we evolve, we learn like this body, this makeup in this body works better here, and this, and it's almost like, when we started out with cars, Eric has shown me we had the car that you started the engine. And
Yeah.
then as time went on, we had a button and then we had a key, and, we didn't have to run start it and stuff. And this is how our bodies evolved,
Yeah.
because it's, Eric says, our bodies are really amazing machines in a way, and it's our bodies have learned to, um, heal itself better, and to, um, he says, to have more endurance. It's and we're a little bit more, I want to say evolved, but that doesn't feel like the right word to use. But we are more evolved, we're, it's like Eric has shown me, it's like our awareness is more open so that we can be more aware of our creations
Okay.
and start creating, allowing this information that's already out there, where we can start bringing it in and start creating. And he says, like electricity, like electricity's always been there, energy that's always been there, but it was somebody who was open enough to allow that to come in to start, as we call, invent it.
Yeah. So, what was your death transition? Long ago in a session, I remember the medium saying that when you died, you just pretty much you don't stay up there in the afterlife very long. You just come right back. It was very short, the short cycling. Is that really true?
Well, he says for back then it was true, you know, it, because there just wasn't that much to recycle, so to speak. Now he says, and even now, people come back a lot quicker than what we want to think that we come
Yeah.
back, but they don't always come back here to this planet.
Oh
He says
yeah, they don't have to.
there's thousands of other places to go to as well, and it just depends on what it is your next adventure is. It's like, what next vacation do you want to go on is what
Okay.
you want to do. Yes, he said, so it just really depends on what you want to experience as to where you go.
Okay. Let me ask just a couple more questions. Did I ask this? What was the spiritual purpose of Neanderthals? Did I already ask that? I checked it off like I
Uh,
answered. I don't remember.
I don't know. I don't. Eric says, no, you didn't ask. He said, the spiritual part is more of I just get like it was kind of like an experiment type thing, but to see what worked and what didn't work here,
Oh.
you know,
Like
to see
basically
more.
survival was the thing.
But
Survival
this
consciousness.
survival was it, and he says,
No.
and this is why we still have that in our the flight or fright mode, you know.
Yeah.
He says that comes from way back when. It didn't
Medulla
just,
oblongata or the amygdala, both probably. That's
but
interesting.
you know, it was. He says, you know, it's all about. He says it was all. It was really to like. How would I put that? It's almost like to see how we would go about coming full circle as to knowing who we are. You
Oh,
know,
wow.
it's like that, you know, like knowing who we are. You know, how long would it take us to find our way back home? Like to go, and he says, you know, we are all doing an amazing job turning things around, like to where we're the majority of us, the consciousness is turning around looking inward. And he goes, and that's what this is all about. It's like finding your origin, where you originated from.
Mm, very cool. Well, does anybody want to add anything else before we close? We'll do you guys hit the notification bell and actually just subscribe so you don't miss part 3 and probably part 4.
You know, Eric is saying everything we are doing, regardless if we see it as good or bad, is part of the evolution, and we're continuing where the Neanderthals left off, you know. So it's all a part of it. And I don't get from the Neanderthals, they viewed things as bad or good, you
Yeah.
know. It's what was appropriate for this time and what wasn't, you
Right.
know, like, because
Excellent.
I feel like they had timelines that during these few months we have to do this harvesting. We have to plan now for this weather coming up. You know, it was always there. It was always really about work,
Yeah,
so to
food,
speak.
hunger.
Yeah, yeah, but they didn't work for money, so they didn't
No.
complain about working overtime.
Sounds great. All right. Thank you, Denise. Thank you, Eric. I love y'all.
You're
And
so
you guys
welcome.
check her out. Check out the splash screen that's going to be up here if it hasn't already been up. All right. Talk to you later. Have a good weekend, Denise.
You as well. You take care.
Bye.
Bye.